It's a Blaring Out with Eric Blair show today, coming to you from NostalgiaCon, the ultimate 80s reunion at the Anaheim Convention Center in beautiful Anaheim, California, with MTV VJ legend Nina Blackwood. How you doing tonight?
All right.
What is the importance of the NostalgiaCon 2019 to you?
This is specifically for the 80s, so obviously because of MTV, we're associated with the 80s. But it's for the fans.
Why do you think the 80s are more popular now than they were in the 80s?
Well, I don't know if they're more popular now than they were in the 80s, but it's kind of surprising that Mark Goodman said it earlier, that the 80s have been more popular longer than they actually were, because it's going on several decades now. But I think because, it brings people back to a fun time, and things were colorful, and everything is very right now. We're living in such troubled times in this country, so I think that even adds to it. People need that uplifting fun, and not thinking about the news, or not thinking about paying their mortgage, and reflecting back to when they were young, and and I always think of the word colorful when I think of the 80s, because of the videos and the fashion, and it was a nice time.
Starting off with Duran Duran, there was a promise and a hope for a brighter future, because we saw this lifestyle and this future in a lot of these music videos that we wanted to live ourselves.
Well, a lot of people did. A lot of people started dressing like Madonna and dressing like the videos. Definitely, yeah.
Have you reconnected with any of these rock stars that are here tonight?
We see each other every now and again if we're doing an event somewhere, so it's always nice. Yeah, because we shared, we have a history.
How did you see MTV change your life when you started to work for them?
I started playing music when I was 4, so I was a musician, and then acting as a child too, so I've always had that dichotomy. I was going in that direction, but also out in Los Angeles, I was working with a couple of different producers on some projects that were video, like mini versions of what MTV became, functioning as, didn't have a name, but, VJ. And so, I don't know if I had continued with serious acting, and, I was starting to make headway with that, and also, playing my harp all the time, getting write-ups and, reviews and things like that. So MTV kind of, combined my two passions, and we became household names, basically. So that does change your direction.
When you think of the interviews that you did during your time at MTV, which are a couple that stand out to you?
That's always a really hard question to answer, because there were so many great artists that I loved Annie Lennox, Ray Davies, because I loved the Kinks since I was a little girl. I mean, they're one of my favorite bands. Tom Petty, loved Tom Petty, God bless him. I'm really still sad about his passing. Tom was great. It's like saying, what is your favorite child? It is really hard. I like the interview process. So I actually prefer being the interviewer as opposed to the interviewee. I like to listen. So, despite the fact what I do, I like listening.
How did you prepare for interviews back then?
I'm big on research. I've always been that way. I'd be the kid asking for extra credit so I could go hang out in the library. Give me more work so I can read more. So that's what I would do. I would research, listen to the music. It was generally when you do an interview, they had a new album out, so obviously that, and listen to the new album and just do research.
Live Aid.
Live Aid was great. I mean, it was a historic event, and so many people coming together to help.
What was it like? All of the luminaries of the entire history of rock and roll were there.
It's funny. At the time, it was just getting up and doing your job every day. So it wasn't. It was more in hindsight that sometimes, I go, God, I was at Farming and Jesse Jackson knew who I was, But at the time, it was just part and parcel of my job, so I wasn't looking back and going, oh my God, wow, it was my job, basically, and then you look back and you go, that's a really cool job,
Name 2 albums that you really loved during your time at MTV.
Empty Glass, Pete Townsend, to be quite honest. John Waite's Ignition, I love that one, and also No Brakes, his second album. But, when I think about it, really, the Empty Glass, for some reason, I played that thing. I literally did wear out the grooves with Pete Townsend's Empty Glass. Yeah, so I think that was probably my top favorite of the decade.
Yeah, that was, what almost was a Who record. Those songs were almost used for a Who record.
And Paul Young's first album. Oh, yeah. I played a lot of that.
Pino Palladino.
Oh, Pino is awesome. I was into U2, Petty, John Mellencamp, Eurythmics, stuff that had a little more longevity.
The Eddie Van Halen encounters.
Van Halen and Eddie, awesome. Absolutely brilliant. And I used to see Eddie and Valerie. In fact, I was one of the first people that they told, just ran into him on West 57th, that they were getting married, and they were so adorable together. So, yeah, I love Eddie.
The year the first Asia record came out in 1982.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the first Asia record, and did you get to know John Wetton?
When they would come to the studio, the different artists, we would be assigned to specific artists, and I was not assigned to them, but I like Asia. I like Asia a lot.
How did you see your life change after the fame?
Well, thank God it wasn't... now with social media, I wouldn't have been able to handle that at all, because I'm basically a shy person and an introvert, and that would have... I would have had a nervous breakdown having stuff shoved at me all the time. It was an unusual experience, to say the least. And in New York, I remember when it finally hit New York, like firemen in the truck going, hey, yo, Nina, they've been, and I was flagging the cab once on 6th Avenue, and these cops stopped, and I'm going, oh no, did they think I'm a hooker? What's the story? They go, yo, Nina, where you going? Uptown, have an appointment. Come on in, and the cops gave me a ride, and I'm like down in the back seat like this going, I don't want anybody to know, they'll think I'm arrested, So the cops gave me a ride from like 44th to I think it was like 71st, West 71st. So things like that would happen, and it was nice. I can't, like I said, I can't say any derogatory thing about having that period of time that was in the public eye, but now is just with people, like I said, I would have had a nervous breakdown if that popularity was happening now with the social media, and the haters and the this and the that. It's like, oh God, it's horrible.
One of the things that was very influential about you as a VJ wasn't just your style, but it was also your fashion sense, and your hairstyle was very popular. Now tell me how that hairstyle originated. And
it's just basically, as you could see, my hair, and it came about because I've never been good at setting my hair, just not coordinated with it. There was a woman back in Ohio, in Cleveland, who just cut my hair so that I was able to just let it do what it does. And, it just variations on a theme. And I still can't set my hair. That's why it looks like this.
So you mentioned your love for John Waite. Did you ever interview John Waite?
John was an old friend of mine. Yeah, John's a nice guy. I just, knew him, and we hung out a bit. And he's just, can still sing, and his voice is actually better than ever. A very poetic type of guy and great voice. And I like John.
Tell me how the Sirius thing came about and what you love about it.
I know when they first started, when it was just Sirius, my manager at the time was talking to them. How it actually came about was Kid Kelly called. It was right around the holidays, and I actually thought it was a joke. I thought it was somebody pretending to be Kid Kelly, but he wanted to hire all of us, so that's how it started. And that was like, God, I don't know how many years now, seriously, probably 16 years now, and I just love it. I always I love the concept of Sirius XM with having all the different channels and anything that you want. And I always say that, and when I'm talking to somebody about it and saying, yeah, it's really cool, I said, I'm not saying that because I work there. If I didn't work there, I would want to work there. So I love it, and I'm really proud to be there, and I love my job.
How do you explain your longevity in the entertainment business?
I'm just grateful for it. I'm glad that people like to hire me.
Nina Blackwood, thank you for being on the Blaring Out with Eric Blair show.
The Blaring Out Show.